Welcome back to the Marching to Madness College Basketball Podcast with my good friend Brian Gregory of the South Florida Bulls. His Bulls have been holding opponents to around 40% from the field. And you know, they're always a noted defensive team who also has held opponents to 21.3 made field goals per contest. Coach, welcome back.
Thanks for having me on, Ken. Excited about it.
Yeah, sure. It's always a pleasure. I love talking hoop with you. Hey, tough loss last night, though, against the Austin Peay Governors. You guys were down 27-6. You came back and took the lead. And then they had a couple of late threes to pull out a 62-60 win.
Yeah, you know, we got off to a good start the first 4 minutes, and then they went on a hot streak, and our defense wasn't as good, and then we were kind of out of sorts a little bit on offense as well, and give them a ton of credit. I think they're a team that's going to have just a fantastic year. He's done a great job there, and they got great size, and the size can also step out and hit threes. They're starting 4 and 5 man hit 1/3 of their total threes were by their post players. So they're very, very versatile. We played some zone, which was effective, took the lead, and then just going down the stretch, make some of the winning plays, either with a defensive stop or with a quality basket. And now in our 4 losses, it's been a total of 13 points. Obviously playing some new guys in some roles. I think you see throughout college basketball, some teams with some inconsistencies. So the biggest thing and the most important thing I felt was by mid-December to have a pretty solidified rotation and also more solidified roles. So I think we're working towards that right now, Ken.
Good deal on that. Obviously, I know your defensive acumen. You're one of the noted best defensive coaches in the sport. I'm just curious, what are the solid parts of the game, though, and are there any that don't rely so much on defense?
Yeah, I think over the last 2 games, we're getting better and showing more ball movement and player movement on offense. We're still a kind of a hard charge and drive team, and now playing off those drives with better movement as opposed to 4 guys stationary as 1 guy tries to go. I think there was probably 5 or 6 possessions in the second half where we didn't get the movement and the ball kind of stuck in the player's hands. We're not nearly as good when that's the case. We have to play on misses yesterday, and in the past couple games, we have been very good in transition. But in our system, we want to run on makes too and put the pressure on the defense. That's an area, Ken, that I think over these next 6 or 7 games, we got to make a big jump in. So when we get into conference play, we're never going to be a team, Ken, that has 75 to 80 possessions in the game, because we're in the top 30 in the country in terms of our defense not giving up early baskets. So our possession numbers on defense is 20 or more seconds. So there's just less possessions because of our defensive ability. So what that does mean, though, Ken, is you have to be even more efficient on offense, because we're at about 70. Yesterday was the lowest percentage game that we've had in terms of possessions. It was right at 65. We want to be at that 70 marker, and we want to make sure that our defense doesn't waver because of the pace that we want to play at. And that's really the next step that we need to take.
Just curious if this is a more physical team, because I notice, your opponents have been getting to the line like 21 times a game. So it feels like it might be.
Yeah, I do think, as good as we are defensively, the number one thing that we need to improve on, or 2 things in particular. One, we got to go, in this day and age, your ability to one-on-one guard the ball and keep it out of the paint is critical. Because if you let that ball into the paint and the second line of help has to come and help, that's when you kick out threes. And that's also when you give up offensive rebounds. So the two areas on the defense that we need to improve in is our on-ball, one-on-one, keep the ball out of the paint defense. And then the second thing is we're not defensively rebounding as well as we need to. And a lot of times what is happening is our one or two players that are not in either a block out or a wedge situation, block out on the perimeter, wedge inside, that player needs to hold his spot on the perimeter and then come up with any of those long tip or tap rebounds. And you fight human nature by running to the rim. So you can't run to the rim. You need to hold your spot. And the other thing that does, Ken, is when those guys get those rebounds, that ignites our fast break. So it's really twofold that we got to do a better job of guarding the basketball and a better job of controlling our defensive glass, all which leads to better and more efficient offensive possessions.
There you go. Now you've got some solid transfers there. Obviously, Keyshawn Bryant came over from South Carolina. And, you know, I know a lot of Bulls fans will remember Tyler Harris when he was at Memphis. These two players are tied now at 11.3 points per game.
Yeah, I mean, they both obviously have made a great impact. I think Tyler over the last couple games is getting more comfortable in playing more minutes, having more responsibilities with the ball in his hands. And so I think as he gets more comfortable with that, he's going to shoot the ball better because he hasn't shot the ball as well as he is capable of the first 4 games. Now the last 2 games much better. Keyshawn Bryant, obviously a high-level athlete that plays extremely hard, and he's best when we get the ball out on the break in transition. And he's one of our best, if not our best, offensive rebounders, especially going from outside to inside. So his ability to impact the game through a lot of effort type areas is going to be critical for us.
I remember in South Carolina on the fast break because he's athletic. I mean, he can find the ball and he thinks to score.
Right. And we need him to be ultra aggressive in the straight line drives and attacking the basket, finishing those plays, you know, making good decisions if multiple help guys come, kicking it out. Again, in college basketball, what's happened now is you do have to simplify some stuff because you're not having guys progress in your system and year in and year out. You know, some of these players have 4 years of experience in a different system. So there's a learning curve in terms of getting comfortable with what you're doing. And obviously that learning curve can be accelerated if you're simplifying things. And that's just across the board. Because the one thing that people sometimes forget with these transfers, you know, 5-6 years ago, transfers had a full year of sitting out in your program to learn your system, to get comfortable with the coaching, to get comfortable with the parameters you want them to play in. Now they have 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference. And sometimes the expectations on these guys, especially early, is unattainable. And so you got to be patient with them. And that's why I said, you know, our hope is to continue to get better, win games. And then when we start that league play, we got guys that are really comfortable in their roles, really comfortable in the freedom that our system provides within the guardrails of being, you know, playing in a disciplined fashion as well. And if you do that, then you got a chance to continue to improve.
Now, Tyler, you know, he's finding shots as well, 13.5 a game, and he's your best assist man right now with 3 even assists per game.
Yeah, you know, and again, I think just over the last week, and as you know, with all your research and following college basketball, you know, we just played 3 games in 6 days.
Oh,
This beginning of the year is so condensed that we're not getting a lot of practice time as well. So he's getting comfortable with a uniform on. Now it slows up a little bit. And now we'll get some actual practice time where now you're able to work on some stuff that has showed itself in games. And so I think this next month for us as a unit is going to be critical.
Yeah, Selton Miguel and Sam Hines are two players, that have shown up pretty big early. Talk a little bit about their games and how they're fitting your system.
I think Selton has a huge growth potential within our system as a big, strong guard, where the ball's in his hands with ball screen action. He's a very good playmaker. And he is wired to kind of make plays, either score himself or create. I thought yesterday was probably his best all-around game so far. And he's picking up our defensive stuff as well. His ability to drive and create action is critical for us. And then Sam, our most dependable guy in the program every single day. And I just have a strong belief that if you do that every day and you sow the right seeds and you keep going and keep working, that eventually you're going to get the reward you're looking for. It may not always be at the time you want or as fast as you want or without some pitfalls along the way. But he's one of those guys that, gets right back at it the next day. And I think his play is demonstrating that, because when he's on the perimeter, he's able to knock down shots now. One thing I'd like him to do a little more, because I think he's capable, is using his ability to get in the lane and create some scoring opportunities for other guys. There was a point in some practices where he led us in assists, and we need some of that right now. We need some of that, another additional playmaker. So that allows like Tyler Harris to play off of somebody else. And obviously he's very comfortable in doing that. That allows Russell to get some drop-offs and some easy baskets. So I think that's one of the things that we really need to push Sam on doing right now.
Russell Chiwa, how do you set him up? I noticed he's shooting 56%.
Yeah.
And he has 25 attempts so far. So, he's obviously one of your key players on offense.
Yeah, and I think again, I got the stats right here. He's also taking the most free throws. So sometimes you say, wow, he's got to get more shots. Well, he's getting more shots. He's getting fouled on those shots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think one of the biggest things, and Russell's getting better at it, is his ability to score in the post is just a small piece of his ability to score baskets.
Mm-hmm.
And he's understanding that and accepting that and buying into that is a big piece for Russell, meaning this: he can get as many baskets for us opening up the court and playing behind the defense. So when we drive the ball, we have the opportunity to drop the ball off to him.
Sure.
He's going to get it. Yeah, in that dunker spot. He's going to get as many baskets playing away from the drives and rebounding the weak side for offensive putbacks. And it doesn't matter how the points come. We just need those points.
Sure.
And, he's getting better. Instead of always chasing the ball, sometimes just getting away from the ball and creating those open driving areas, offensive reboundings, drop off. Now he's got to shoot his free throws better, because when he gets fouled, he needs to capitalize on that. But I think that's an area, again, over these next 4 weeks that we can make a big jump in.
Last thing, Coach, I've been asking all my guests this question. The NCAA tournament is rumored to be considering expansion. Just curious about your thoughts on that, and if you think it can happen or it should happen. What would be a really good way to up the number of teams?
Yeah, so yeah, it's a great question. And you have a very vocal group saying, don't mess with it.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. There was that same vocal group 30 years ago when it went from 16 to 32, and from 32 to 48, and from 48 to 64. And then, oh no, we can't expand it to 68. It's the same thing all the time. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's perfect the way it is. Well, nothing is perfect as time moves on. Everything
right.
has to adjust and change and improve. Adding more teams will only improve it.
Oh,
I truly believe that.
mhm.
We're here now, trying to give these student athletes the greatest experience that they can be a part of. Adding one more game, even if you went and doubled 64, right? And went to
Sure.
128, adding one more game would not lessen the experience and the excitement of playing in the NCAA tournament.
Sure.
Guys that love to play the game of football, when they get to play in a bowl game, it's a big deal. It is something that they will talk about for the rest of their lives, no matter what bowl game it is, no matter what bowl game it is. So why not give the basketball players that same opportunity 20 years from now, saying that I played in the NCAA tournament in 2023? You know what I mean? And for me, I just think that the argument has always been, well, it's the greatest event. Well, it was the greatest when it was 16. It was the greatest when it was 32. It was the greatest when it was 48. It was the greatest when it was 64. Then you add the 68. It's going to be the greatest. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Logistically, smarter people can figure out a way to do that. Okay.
Sure.
Logistically. But for me, there's just too many quality teams that could win a game in the tournament that isn't getting that opportunity. And then
Yeah.
number two, for the players, I just think it's you get a small window, and so many things have to go right to get an at-large bid. So why are we limiting in an experience that will impact and make a positive impact on so many guys' lives for the rest of their lives? It just doesn't make much sense to me.
Coach Brian Gregory, ladies and gentlemen, one of our best guests who comes on Marching to Madness. Coach, it's a pleasure, man, to talk to you, and I wish you the best here coming forward.
Kenny, I appreciate you. Go Bulls.
There you go. How's that? Good to see you, man. I appreciate it.